In the previous edition of this text, the term sanitation, also known as sanitizing, was used interchangeably to mean clean or cleaning. You will also find that many commercially available products used in the cleaning and disinfecting process continue to use the word sanitize and sanitizing. However, the publisher's goal is to clearly define the term in this book, in textbook across the industry, and within a glossary. Before we discuss infection control and safe work practice, the term cleaning, sanitizing, disinfecting, and sterilization within the professional beauty and barber industry. In an effort to do what we can clarify these critical terms, my lady opted to consistently use the term cleaning instead of using cleaning in one sentence and sanitizing in another sentence. Professionals in the healthcare scientific communities and associations such as the Association of the Professional Infection Control and Epidemiology General do not use the term interchangeably. Instead, it is more common for infection control professionals to use the term cleaning. Infection control professionals consider sanitation lay-in-person term or product marketing term. The term cleaning is defined as a mechanical process scrubbing using soap and water or detergent and water to remove all visible dirt, debris, and many disease-causing germs. Cleaning also removes invisible debris that interferes with disinfection. Cleaning is required as a step before disinfecting. The term sanitizing is defined as a chemical process for reducing the number of disease-causing germs on clean surface to a safe surface. The term disinfecting is defined as a chemical process for use with non-porous items that use specific products to destroy harmful organisms on implements and environmental surfaces. State board and other regulated agencies require that infection control measures and safe practices be applied while serving the public. Infection control measures help minimize the spread of contagious disease and skin infection that are caused by transmission of infection material from one individual to another. Since transmission can also occur when using contaminated implements, tools, or equipment, the performance of effective infection control procedure must be top priority in the barbershop. Safe work practice requires that implements, tools, and equipment used safely, that be aware of situations that can cause accidents in the barbershop. This chapter provides some helpful guidelines to minimize potential risks and accidents. It is your responsibility as a responsible professional barber to use proper and effective infection control methods that help safeguard your health and health of your clients. You are responsible for employing safe work practices that help prevent accidents and injuries from occurring in the workplace. Many federal state agencies regulate the practice of barbering. Federal agencies set guidelines for the manufacture, sale, and use equipment and chemical ingredients. These guidelines also monitor safety in the workplace, limits on types of services you can perform in a barber or styling shop. State agencies regulate license informants and conduct when you are working in the shop. OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, was created as a part of the U.S. Department of Labor and regulated and enforced safety and health standards to protect employees in the workplace. Regulating employee exposure to potential toxic substances and informing employees about the possible hazards of materials used in the workplace at key points of the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970. This regulation created the Hazard Communication Standard HCS, which requires that chemical manufacturers and importers assess and communicate potential hazards associated with their products. The Material Safety Data, MSDS, was resolved in the HCS in 2012, along with the representatives from most of the nations in the United Nations. OSHA agreed to comply with the globally harmonized system of classification and label of chemicals system, GHS. The initiative was designed to create label standards to be used around the globe and include use of specific pictograms to indicate possible safety concerns. The standards set by OSHA are important to barbers because of the products they use daily. OSHA standards address issues related to the handling, mixing, storing, and disposing of products. Generally, safety in the workplace, and your right to know about any potential hazardous ingredients contained in the products and know how to avoid hazards. Barbers should view OSHA as an agency designed to ensure a safe place for U.S. workers. Both federal and state law requires the manufacturer supply a safety data sheet for all chemical products manufactured sold. All SDS will organize identically and will be contained following 16 categories of information: identification, product identifier, manufacturer or distributor with a contact information, hazard identification. All hazards of using the chemical are detailed. Information on ingredients. Information on chemical ingredients is included. First aid measures, important symptoms and effects. Firefighting measures, suitable fire extinguish techniques and equipment, and the chemical hazards of fire are listed. Accidental release measures, emergency procedures, protective equipment, and proper methods of containment and cleanup are listed. Handling and storage, precaution for the safe handling and safe storage. Exposure control, OSHA permissible exposure limits and personal protective equipment are listed. Physical and chemical properties, the chemical characteristics are listed. Stability, chemical stability, toxicology, information, routes of exposure. Disposal consideration, proper disposal techniques. Transport information, restrictions on transportations are included. Regulatory information, agencies responsible for the regulation of the products are listed. Revision date, original date of the document, and any revisions are listed. In addition, the pictograms that are internationally recognized are used to ensure that information is being communicated in easily recognizable formats. When necessary, the SDS can be sent to a medical facility so that the doctor can better access and treat the patient. Not having SDS information available poses a health risk to anyone exposed to hazardous materials and violates federal and state regulations. OSHA and state regulation agencies require that SDS be kept available in the shop for all products used or sold. Both OSHA and state board inspectors can issue fines to establish not having SDA readily available. Federal and state law requires barbers to obtain SDS from the chemical product manufacturers and distributors for each professional product they use. SDS often can be downloaded from the product manufacturer's or distributor's website. All workers in a barbershop must read the information included each SDS and verify that they have read it by adding their signatures to sign-off sheet for the product. All state requires that a sign-off sheet must be immediately available to state and federal inspectors upon request. The EPA registers all types of disinfectants sold and used in the United States. Disinfectants are chemical products that destroy most bacteria, fungi, and viruses on surfaces. The two types that are used in a barbershop are hospital disinfectant and tuberculosis disinfectant. Hospital disinfectant are effective cleaning blood and body fluids with non-porous surface. By non-porous, we mean an item made or constructed of a material has no pores or openings that cannot absorb liquids. Hospital disinfectant controls the spread of disease. Disease is defined as an abnormal condition of all parts of the body, its system, or its organs that make the body incapable of carrying out normal functions. The most commonly used disinfectant are the following: quaternarium aluminum compounds, commonly known as quats, are products made of quaternarium aluminum caution and are designed for disinfecting of non-porous surfaces. They are appropriate for their use in non-critical environments and are effective against most pathogens of concern in the barbering environment. Tuberculosis disinfectants often referred to as phenolics, are proven to kill the bacterium that cause tuberculosis, in addition to other pathogens destroyed through the use of hospital disinfectants. Tuberculosis is a disease caused by a bacterium that is transmitted through coughing or sneezing. It is passed through the inhalation only and is not transmitted to the hands or picked up on surfaces. Tuberculosis disinfectants are one kind of hospital disinfectant. However, because these disinfectants are effective against the pathogens do not mean that you should automatically reach for them. Some of these products can be harmful to tools and equipment, and they require special methods of disposal. Check the rules of your state to be sure that the product you choose complies with the state requirements. Most pathogens of concern in a barbershop are adequately destroyed by standard EPA-registered disinfectants and do not require tuberculosis disinfectants. However, some states do require tuberculosis disinfectants, so always check the rules of your state to be sure the product complies with the state requirements. There are also some states that require tuberculosis disinfectants only when blood contamination has occurred. In those states, you should keep a tuberculosis disinfectant readily available, but you should use it only when required. It is against federal law to use any disinfectant product in a way contrary to use indicated on its label. Before a manufacturer can sell a product for disinfectant services, tools, implements, and equipment, they must obtain an EPA registration number near a manufacturer name that certifies that the disinfectant, when used correctly, will be effective against the pathogens listed on the label. For example, the clipper disinfectant must be approved by the EPA for use with clippers in specific environments, or the manufacturer will be breaking the federal law by marketing them as clipper disinfectants to the barber market. This also means that if you do not follow the label instructions for mixing, contact time, and the type of surface the disinfectant product can be used on, you are not complying with federal law. State regulatory agencies exist to protect barbers and their customers' health and safety while they receive services. State regulatory agencies include licenses agencies, state board preps, commission, and health departments. Regulatory agencies require that everyone working on consumers in the barbershop follow specific procedures. Enforcement of the rules through inspections and investigations of consumer complaints is also part of the agency responsibility. An agency can issue penalties against both the shop owners and the barbershop licenses. Penalties vary, include warnings, fines, probation, and suspension or revocation of license. It is vital that you understand and follow the laws and rules of your state at all times. Your professional reputation, your license, and your client's safety depends on it. Laws are written by federal and state legislatures that determine the scope of practice and establish guidelines for regulatory agencies to make rule law. Laws are also called statuses. Rules and regulations are more specific than laws. The regulatory agencies or state board writes the rules and determine how the law must be applied. Rules establish specific standards of conduct and can be changed or updated frequently. It is your responsibility to be aware of the changes to the rules and regulations to apply to them. Ignorance of the law is not an acceptable reason or excuse of non-compliance. Being a barber is not only rewarding, but it is also a great responsibility. One careless action could cause injury or infection, which is the invasion body tissue by disease-causing pathogens. If your action results in your client injury or infection, you could lose your license or ruin the shop's reputation. Fortunately, preventing the spread of infection is easily when you know proper procedures and follow them at all times. Prevention begins and ends with you. Effective infection control in the barbershop also influence the professional image of the establishment. A client first impression of the shop begins the moment they open the door. So a clean environment should extend beyond each barber's immediate work area. All of the sight, sound, smell, and general ambience of the barbershop meld together to form the first impression, regardless of how many times a client has previously visited the shop. In essence, the first impression happens over and over again because clients do not see or the shop daily. A clean and orderly barbershop helps build confidence and trust that continually care is being taken care and provided safe sanitary environment in which to receive their personal services. Infection control refers to the method used to eliminate or reduce transmission of infectious organisms. Barbers must understand and remember the following 4 types of potentially harmful organisms: bacteria, viruses, funguses, and parasites. Under certain conditions, many of these organisms can be infectious disease. An infectious disease is caused by pathogens, organisms that enter the body. An infectious disease, however, may or may not be spread from one person depending on the organism and the method of transmission. Cleaning is a mechanical process using soap and water or detergent and water to remove all visible dirt, debris, and many disease-causing germs from tools, implements, and equipment. The process of disinfection involves the use of chemicals to destroy most, but not necessarily all, harmful organisms on an environmental surface. Disinfection is not effective against bacterial spores, which are bacteria capable of producing a protective coating that allows them to withstand very harsh environments and to shed the coating when conditions become more favorable to them. Cleaning and disinfecting procedures are designed to prevent the spread of infection and disease. At minimum, disinfectant used in the barbershop must be bactericidal, capable of destroying bacteria, versatile, capable of destroying viruses, fungicidal, capable of destroying molds and fungi. Remember, in some states, disinfectant must be effective against tuberculosis. Check your state board rules and regulations for complex information. Be sure to mix and use these disinfectants according to the instructions on the label so they are safe and effective. Contaminated tools and equipment can spread infection between customers if proper disinfection steps are not taken after every service. You have a professional and legal obligation to protect your client from harm by using proper infection control procedures. If clients are infected or harmed because you did not perform infection control procedures correctly, you may be found legally responsible for the injuries or infections. Bacteria are single-cell micronisms that have both plant and animal characteristics. A micronism is any organism of microscopic size. Some bacteria are harmful and some are harmless. Bacteria can exist almost anywhere, on skin, in water, in the air, in decayed matter, on environmental surfaces, in body secretion, on clothing, or under the free edge of nails. Bacteria are small. They can only be seen with a microscope. There are thousands of bacteria, which fall into 2 primarily types: pathogenic and non-pathogenic. Most bacteria are non-pathogenic. In other words, they are harmless organisms that may perform useful functions. They are safe to come in contact with and do not cause disease or harm. For example, a non-pathogenic organism are used to make yogurt, cheese, and some medicines. In the human body, non-pathogen bacteria help the body break down food, protect against infection, and stimulate the immune system. Pathogenic bacteria are harmful micronisms that can cause disease or infection in humans when they invade the body. Shops and schools must maintain strict standards for cleaning and disinfecting at all times to prevent the spread of pathogens, micronisms. It is crucial that students learn proper infection control practices while school to ensure that they understand the importance of following throughout their career. Bacteria have 3 distinct shapes that help identify them: Pathogenic bacteria are classified as described. Casi are rounded-shaped bacteria that appear singly alone or in groups. Stellacasi are pus-forming bacteria that grow in clusters like bunch of grapes. They cause abscesses, pustules, and boils. Some type of Stellacasi may not cause infection in healthy humans, although other may be deadly. Streptococcus are pus-forming bacteria arranged in curved lines resembling a string of beads. They cause infections such as strep throat and blood poisoning. Diplocracy are cereal bacteria that grow in pairs and causes diseases such as feminine. Bacilli are short rod-shaped bacteria. They are the most common bacteria, produces disease such as jaw lock. Spirilla are spiral or corkscrew-shaped bacteria. Different bacteria move in different ways. The term monody refers to self-movement. Casi rarely demonstrates self-movement and are generally transmitted in the air, in dust, or within the substance in which they settle. Bacillia and Spirilla are both capable of movement and use slender hair-like extensions called flagella for locomotion. You also may hear people refer to cilia in reference to self-movement, but they much shorter than flagella. Bacteria require relatively many more cilia to ensure self-movement. Both flagella and cilia move cells. Both they have different types of motion. Bacteria with flagella move in a snake-like motion, while those with cilia move in a rowing-like motion. When seen under a microscope, bacteria look like tiny bags. They generally consist of any outer cell wall that contains a liquid called protoplasma. Bacteria cells manufacture their own food through what they absorb from the surrounding environment. They give off waste products, grow, and reproduce. The life cycle of bacteria consists of two distinct phases: the active stage and the inactive stage. Active stage. During the active stage, bacteria grow and reproduce. Bacteria multiply best in warm, dark, damp, or dirty places. When conditions are favorable, bacteria grow and reproduce. When they reach their largest size, they divide into two new cells. This division is called binarily fission. The cells that are formed as a result of binarily fission are called daughter cells and are reproduced every 20 to 60 minutes depending on the bacteria. For example, the infection pathogen Stellacus aureus undergoes cell division every 27 to 30 minutes. When conditions become unfavorable, bacteria either die or become inactive. Inactive stage. Certain bacteria, such as bacteria that causes tinnitus and among others, can form spores by coating themselves with wax-like outer shells during unfavorable conditions. These spores protect the bacteria and enable them to withstand long periods of feminine dryness and unsuitable temperatures. In this condition, spores can be blown about and are not harmed by disinfectant, heat, or cold. In favorable conditions such as moist environments return, the spores can change into active form and begin to grow and reproduce. There can be no bacteria infections without the presence of pathogenic bacteria. Therefore, if pathogenic bacteria are eliminated, clients cannot become infected. And inflammation is a condition in which the tissue of the body reacts to injury, irritation, or infection. And inflammation is characterized by redness, heat, pain, and or swelling. Pus is a fluid containing white blood cell bacteria and dead cell, and is the product of the infection process. The presence of pus is a sign of bacteria infection. A local infection, such as a pimple or abscess, is confined as a particular part of the body appears as a lesion containing pus. As a synthetic infection is an infection where the pathogen has distributed throughout the body rather than staying in one area or organ. Staphylococcus are among the most common bacteria that affect humans and are commonly found in our environment, including our bodies. Although most strands do not make us ill, Staphylococcus bacteria can be picked up on doorknobs, countertops, and other surfaces. But in a barber shop, they are more frequently spread through skin-to-skin contact or through the use of unclean tools or implements and can be very dangerous. Staph is responsible for food poisoning and a wide range of disease, including toxic shock syndrome. Some type of infection staph bacteria are high resident to confidential treatments such as antibiotics. Historically, MRSI occurred most frequently among persons with weakened immune system or among people who had undergone medical procedures. Today, it has become more common in otherwise healthy people. Clients who appear completely healthy may bring this organism into the shop, where it can infect others. Some people carry the bacteria and are even aware of their infection, but the people they infect may show more obvious symptoms. MRSA initially appears as a skin infection, presenting a pimple, rash, or boils that can be difficult to cure. Without proper treatment, the infection becomes systematic and can be devastating consequence that can result in death. Because of these high resident bacteria strains, it is important to clean and disinfect tools and implements used on customers. Also, do not perform services as the client's skin, scalp, neck shows visible signs of abrasions or infection. When a disease spreads from one person to another, the disease is said to be contagious disease, also known as communicable. Some of more common contagious disease that prevent barbers from servicing the client are common cold, ringworms, pink eye, and viral infections. The most common way these infections spread is through dirty hands, especially under the fingernails and in the web between the fingers. Be sure to always wash your hands after using the restroom and before. Contagious diseases can be spread by contaminated implements, cuts, infected nails, open spores, pus, mouth, nose discharge, shared drinking cups, telephone receivers, and towels. Uncovered cough or sneezing and spitting in a public area spread germs. A virus is a submicroscopic particle that infects and resides in the cell of biological organisms. A virus is capable of replication only through taking over the host cell reproduction functions. Viruses are so small that they can only be seen under a supersonic microscope. They cause common colds and other respiratory infections. Some of the viruses that plague humans are measles, mumps, chickenpox, smallpox, rabies, yellow fever, hepatitis, HIV, which causes AIDS. One difference between viruses and bacteria is that a virus can live and reproduce only by taking over other cells and becoming part of them, while bacteria can live and reproduce on their own. Another difference is that while the bacteria infections can usually be treated with specific antibiotics, viral infection cannot, and viruses are hard to kill without harming the host cells in the process. When available, vaccination can prevent viruses from growing in the body. There are many vaccines available for viruses, but not all viruses have vaccines. There are vaccines available for hepatitis B, and you should strongly consider receiving these vaccines, as well as vaccines for the seasonal flu femina. Biofilms are colonies of micronisms that ignore to environmental surfaces as well as the human body. They secrete a sticky, hard to penetrate protective coating that cements them together. The biofilm grows into a complex structure with many kinds of microbes. The sticky mixture substance holds communities together, making them very hard to pierce with antiseptics and disinfections. It keeps the body in a chronic inflammatory state that painful and inhibits healing. One action of the biofilm community is to resist the body's defense mechanisms. Biofilms are usually not visible and must grow very large to be seen without a microscope. Dental plaque is an example of a visible human biofilm. Because biofilms are hard to detect, their presence and effects seem to be underestimated. They are one of the most significant scientific discoveries of the past few decades. Though we have much more to learn, consideration using infection control precautions, including standard precautions, cleaning, disinfecting, and sterilization is the best method to prevention at this present time. Disease causes and micronisms that are carried in the body by blood or bloody fluids such as hepatitis and HIV are called bloodborne pathogens. In the barbershop, the spread of bloodborne pathogens is possible during haircutting and shaving services when the skin is broken. Use a great care to avoid cutting or damaging the customer's skin during any type of service. Hepatitis is a bloodborne virus that causes disease and can damage the liver. In general, it is difficult to contract hepatitis. However, hepatitis is easier to contract than HIV because hepatitis can be present in all body fluids of all who are infected. In addition, unlike HIV, hepatitis can live on the surface outside the body for long periods of time. For this reason, it is vital that all surfaces that a customer comes in contact with are thorough, clean, and disinfected. There are 3 types of hepatitis that are concerned for barbers: hepatitis A, hepatitis B, hepatitis C. HBV is the most difficult to kill on surface, so check the label of the disinfectant you are used to show that the product is infected against HBV. Hepatitis B and hepatitis C are spread from one person to person through blood and less often through body fluids. Fungi are single-cell organisms that grow in irregular masses that include molds, mildews, and yeast. They can produce contagious disease such as ringworms. Mildew, another fungus, affects plants or grows on an animated object but does not cause human infection in the barbershop. The most frequently encountered fungal infection from hair services is Tinea barber, also known as barber itch. Tinea barber is a superficial fungal infection caused by a variety of dermatophytes that commonly affect skin. It is primarily limited to the bearded areas of the face and neck around the scalp. This infection occurs almost exclusively in older adolescents and adult males. A person with Tinea barber may have deep, inflamed or non-inflamed patches of skin on the face or nape of the neck. Tinea barber is similar to Tinea capitis, a fungal infection of the scalp characterized by red bubbles or spots at the opening of the hair follicles. Barbers must clean and disinfect clippers, blades to avoid spreading scalp and skin infections. The risk of spreading skin and scalp infections can be reduced by first removing all of the visible hair debris from the clippers, followed by a thorough cleaning and disinfection of the non-electrical parts. You can use compressed air instead of stiff brush or remove hair and debris from clippers before cleaning and disinfecting them. Turn the clippers on before applying the air to breathe as much as hair possible during the procedure. Always refer to the manufacturer's direction for proper cleaning and disinfecting. Immunity refers to the ability of body to destroy the resistant pathogens and recognize infection. Immunity against disease can be either natural or acquired and is a sign of good health. Natural immunity is partly inherited and partly developed through healthy living. Acquired immunity is immunity that the body develops after overcoming a disease through inoculation.